For us, the goal is always first place, always, whatever event we go to.
저희 팀이 처음에는 서로 이렇게 단합이 잘 되고 그런 분위기가 아니었거든요. 트로피를 보니까 정말 한번 이 트로피를 가지고 싶다는 생각이 들긴 하네요.
What matters to me is putting another first place finish on my career, another first place in the TSM legacy.
TSM은 정말 경험도 많고 러스보이 선수가 지금 최고의 북미 서포트로 불리고 있는데 그는 확실하게 TSM에 와서 로코도코 코치와 함께 같이 성장해 나간 것 같아요.
Rush has real grit. I really like Rush as a player, and I know he wants it, but I don't think it's his time yet.
저희가 트로피를 갖게 된다면은 이제는 서로 정말 단합이 잘 되는 팀이라고 됐다고 말할 수 있을 것 같아요.
We hold ourselves to a certain standard and we meet it every single time. If we lose to TIP, that's it. We're not first.
Welcome to the North American LCS Spring Playoffs. The fans are packed into our studios here in Los Angeles and clamoring for some more League of Legends. The crowd is hyped and both teams are well represented, as you can see here. Very excited after that EU series. And of course, Zhao fans, people sporting their League of Legends gear, and Team Impulse arriving to the studio, and of course, executive producer Zhao giving a wave to the fans. Enjoying it, all smiles here this morning. They'll face off against Team Solo Mid, who are fighting to defend their title of champions. Bjergsen, that's a man to watch. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. For those of you that were just watching the EU LCS, it has already been a wild day of action, to say the least. Now, hopefully, today's series will deliver just as many surprises. Joining me on the analyst desk are Aiden Zyrene Moon and CLG's resident photobomber, Doublelift. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me, first of all. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That series, that 5-game series extended so long that we're well into the afternoon here in North America. First off, I want to touch on that EU series because it was so action-packed. I want to ping you guys for your thoughts on that UOL versus SK game.
Man, I love watching UOL in best of fives because they always seem to clutch it out at the end. That's exactly how they made it into the LCS in the first place, is off of best of 5, where they just clutched that last game off of Nexus backdoor.
Yeah, that was a really close series. I feel like if Powerville didn't get that insane Baron steal last game, SK would have taken it, as well as I just feel like games 3 and 5, N-Rated had like a really weird support choice where he picked Nami and Lulu. Personally, I feel like those champs aren't really in the meta right now. They're really low impact and have low catch or playmaking capability. And that was one of the reasons why SK lost, in my opinion.
Yeah, you mentioned meta. That's one of the reasons why I love watching Unicorns of Love, is the way they stretch the meta.
I thought you were going to say you love me. I was like, oh,
that's one of the reasons I love Zyrene, is meta. I love watching Unicorns of Love because they do everything they can to stretch the meta. We saw the Nard jungle come out, and every time you watch them, you're hoping for something exciting. Anyways, yesterday we saw Cloud9 stage a huge comeback to win their semifinal after losing the first 2 games to Team Liquid. I mean, you were here on the desk with me, Zyrene. Let's recap yesterday for maybe those who didn't get to see that exciting series.
Yeah, started off 2-0, really clean there from Team Liquid. It looked like they were going to be the team to just take it all, and then the reverse sweep. The big story of this series, though, is being able to keep your spirits up, because the series isn't over until it's completely over and you've won 3 games. And being crushed in that final game that we just saw there, that level 1, really seemed to devastate their spirits, and there was no coming back from that. That was a game that was all about having trust in your shot caller from behind, and Cloud9 did that perfectly.
That game was also really crazy for me personally, because I just remember last split, it was Curse with Dom, Xpecial, and Quas, and the exact same thing happened, except it was even more high stakes, where it was their spot into Worlds, and they had a 2-0 lead against LMQ in a best of 5, and then they got reverse 3-0 swept just exactly as this happened. I feel like there might be something wrong inherently with that team when it comes to shot calling in a best of 5, or just they really just don't know how to, I guess, get momentum from behind again.
Well, yeah, it is amazing how the best of 5 can affect a team, and how stamina and mindset is such a huge role in a best of 5. Now, history is continuing to repeat itself here with Team Liquid going down, or up 2-0, down 3-2. Cloud9 making it into the finals every single split that they've been in the LCS. And Team Solo Mid is another team that has done exactly that. They have never missed a finals in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, CLG lost in quarters, 2-0, reverse sweep 2-3, in a place to take 4th for Liquid. Cloud9 made it. TSM looking like they can make it, but there's still a lot of room here. Team Liquid could still get third. TSM could not make it as well. I think this could be a couple of upsets here.
I was about to say, Double, do you think this is the split where TSM does not make it to the finals?
If I had to put money on it, like, absolutely not. It would be really crazy. I feel like it'd be like, it's called the underdog story for a reason, because it's really unlikely to happen. Tip can win, but really TSM is so favored to win. They're so strong. They made every final so far, like you said. I don't think it's in their favor to lose.
All right, well, let's take a look at the bracket to see how it has filled out. As we mentioned, Cloud9 roared back to life after a tough start and clinched a spot in the finals. We'll learn which team they will face off against after today's semifinal between Team Solomid and Team Impulse. The loser of today's best-of-5 showdown will face Team Liquid in a battle for third place. In addition to playing for honor, teams are looking to bank championship points that they will carry with them into the summer split. Now remember, the first place team from summer split will automatically win a spot at Worlds, then the team with the highest points will take the second berth, and the third spot will be decided by a regional qualifier which is seeded by points. So championship points being very, very, very important for teams that want to eventually fulfill their dream of hoisting the Summoners Cup. Now, let's take a closer look at one of the players in today's match. Since joining TSM in the summer split, Lustboy has quickly become a fan favorite. He credits his team for helping him make a smooth transition into the LCS.
해외 대회, MLG 서머 아레나 그런 데 나갔을 때 해외 팬들이 너무 열정적으로 게임을 관람하고 좀 더 게임을 몸으로 즐기는 그런 문화가 너무 부러워서 나도 한번 기회만 된다면 한번 해외에서 게이머 생활을 해보고 싶다 그런 욕심이 있었는데 어떻게 기회가 잘 맞물려서 이렇게 북미에서 게임을 하게 됐어요. 일단 제가 북미에 처음 왔을 때 영어를 거의 못하는 수준이었고 지금도 잘하진 않지만 하여튼간에 로코도코 코치가 영어랑 한국랑 그 언어 문제에 관해서 굉장히 많이 도와줬고
When Lustboy first came, I set rules for both Lustboy and rest of the team. For Lustboy, no Korean during practice. And for the players, I told them you guys should all take the first step and talk to Lustboy first, make sure he feels welcomed here.
TSM에 빨리 적응할 수 있도록 되게 많은 시간과 노력을 투자했었고요. 가장 기억에 남는 거는 그때 TSM 숙소가 2층으로 이루어져 있었는데 제가 1층에서 혼자 밥을 먹고 있었거든요. 근데 어메이징 선수가 갑자기 같이 와서 혼자서 밥 먹지 말라고 저랑 같이 밥을 먹어줬던 기억이 나요.
Just thinking back on my times I played in different teams, I was the happiest when I felt I was integrated into the team and I saw a future there. So I wanted to make sure Lustboy felt that way.
일단 TSM이 저에게 서포트해준 거는 딱히 물질적으로 서포트해주기보다는 그냥 제가 한국에서 그냥 건너오는 그냥 지나가는 한국인 용병이 아니라 진짜 5번째 TSM 멤버로서 받아들여주는 그런 마음가짐이 저에게 가장 큰 도움이 됐던 것 같아요.
I feel really great whenever players make strides and they improve as a person. And I feel like, wow, all that arguing, all the hard work actually paid off. Watching him be really integrated into NA and just seeing him happy has been really rewarding for me.
일단 TSM에 있으면서 여러 가지 목표가 있고 그리고 그 목표를 이루기 위해서 TSM에 계속 남아있고 싶고 그리고 그 목표를 이루려면 당연히 계속 이겨야 될 것 같아요.
Our goal ultimately is to win Worlds, and I'm sure it's the same way for Lustboy too. I want him to have the opportunities and build a name for himself and also his own legacy.
북미가 가장 세계에서 잘하는 그런 국가가 되고 한국인들이 북미로 게임을 배우러 오고 뭐 그런 환경을 만들 수 있도록 그리고 그 중심에 TSM이 있을 수 있도록 그런 팀을 한번 만들어 보고 싶어요.
TSM, an organization that has done a fantastic job at integrating foreign players into their organization, and Lustboy, a personality that people have so quickly fallen in love with.
And I love the fact that they've been able to cultivate that personality and put it out there, because you see a lot of people come over or join teams as new players, and then you know nothing about them for like a year and a half, and it's like, I don't even care about this guy that much. So now people are invested, they care, and the support that he's gotten from it is absolutely incredible to see. And I think that helps his mentality as a player. When they lose games, he has the team behind him, and he has his fans behind him too.
Double, if you've undoubtedly had the option or the ability to be a bit closer to Les Boy, being a player, seeing him backstage, how would you say his evolution has been, you know, from day one in the LCS to now?
Well, day one LCS, I definitely thought he was just a quiet Korean. Just, you know, all of the players who come to North America at first, they're a little shy and they're uncertain of their English. But this split, the first thing, first interaction I had with him is he walked up to me and said, "Big fan," like a joke, you know, he's a big fan. So I thought it was really funny. You know, he has a lot of, I don't know, personality, and I didn't really know that until he started doing the little face thing, and he started talking to me a little bit more. So yeah, Les Boy is definitely really cool.
Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor, and he doesn't apologize for it.
Quite a bit of charisma and confidence, to say the least. Well, you can read more about him in You Can't See Me, or Can't See Him, rather, The Rise of Les Boy on lolesports.com. Now, before we send it over to our casters, be sure to head over to lolesports.com and grab your tickets to join our upcoming playoff fan zone. Celebrate the culmination of the split's most important games with our outdoor viewing party right here at the LCS studios. And if you're interested in seeing the best teams from around the world battle for regional pride, you can pick up tickets to the mid-season invitational, which will be held in Tallahassee, Florida, May 7th through May 10th. Space for both events is limited, so check out lolesports.com today for all of the details. All right, guys, the moment of truth. Who do you think is going to win this series? How many games? Let's go. Prediction times, Irene. You're 100% for 100% on winners. 100% for 100%. You're 100% on winners. What's it going to be?
Today, I'm going to go with TIP. But I'm not going to say how many games because it's up in the air.
Okay.
And I kind of had to justify this too, because I think that both teams are very close, but the way that the meta has shifted, TP Smite top laners are hugely impactful, and TSM's weakest synergy is jungle top. So Rush and Impact is the best synergy currently on TIP, and I feel they can snowball the game off of that. So Santorin has to be on top of his game to know where Rush is at all times. And Xiao can just play a farm-intensive Karthus Vladimir mid and not get camped and not give up kills to Bjergsen. So that would be the strategy for TIP if they want to take this series.
All right, Double Lift to you.
Well, the inner salty CLG fan in me wants TIP to win, TSM to lose, but personally, I just feel like it'll be TSM 3-2. It'll be really close, like you said. I definitely think TIP can win, but I think TSM, it would be absolutely insane if they didn't make a finals.
All right, well, there it is. We've got a split desk. For the purposes of internal or journalistic integrity, I'm going to recuse myself from answering this question, especially since I'm 0 for 1 on the desk. On lolesports.com, though, 82% say it's going to be TSM moving on to face off against Cloud9 in the finals. So Double's got a little backing there. Now let's send it up to the caster desk to get the games underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. What is up, everybody? It is playoff time yet again. I am David Victurley. With me are Joshua Jatt Leesman and Sam Kobe Harbin Kenzer. You guys ready for some semis?
Yes.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I think we're ready after that crazy European series. We could be in for another 10-game day.
I hope so. Riv got lucky. He got to cast the whole 5 games. They were amazing. I'm hoping for the same thing. Anyway, guys, we are loading up now today's semifinal best of 5. It's Team Solo Mid versus Team Impulse. It is the defending champions against one of the hottest teams in the league.
Yeah, and beyond the playoff implications, this is going to be an exciting match because in their quarterfinal match, a lot of people were pointing out that Rush hasn't fully embraced that tank junglers meta. But personally, I don't think that is going to hurt them that much. Team Impulse can integrate a Cinder Hulk into their playstyle and still keep the identity of the team the same. They can have Impact go with that TP Smite lane in the top, and Rush can still play his early aggressive junglers that he loves to play, and he can work with Impact to take over both jungles, and they'll still have that Cinder Hulk tank for the late game. On the other side, you know, of course, Darius also can run TP Smite, but TSM have not played with a top lane focus in a long time, and they tend to have some growing pains when they move into styles that are not focused around the mid lane.
Now, of course, the semifinal, you mentioned the mid lane a little bit. It actually pits our previous 2 MVPs against each other. Xiao, the defending MVP from Summer Split. Bjergsen, the man trying to get his title back.
Yeah, and Bjergsen has been playing incredibly well all season long. Sometimes solo killing his lane and carrying the game straight off of that. But you look at Xiao, and he's been somewhat of an enigma. In some games, he counterpicks himself with Yasuo into Zed that he did against Pobelter, but then sometimes he makes it work and looks godlike. Other games, he really has to rely on the strength of the rest of his team. Team Impulse can actually get away with that against some teams, But if Xiao can't match Bjergsen in this series, I think they actually have a very low chance of taking down TSM.
Yeah, absolutely. A pretty scary mid lane match for Team Impulse fans. We'll see if they can hold up in the series in this one. But TSM's coach, Loco Doco, believes that Rush is the other big variable to watch in these games and says that Impulse will live or die by Rush's aggressive moves.
Rush is a wild card. Like, he can be a double-edged sword. If he fails his ganks, I feel like he's going to flop. And if Impact isn't able to put pressure on the map, I feel like the other side of the map for our team will just win out.
That happened a lot at the beginning of the season when they had first come together. And there was so much talk. We heard the coach talking about how they're a united team now.
Yeah, I do agree that risky plays in general, though Rush is very good at them, they will fail once in a while. But in a best of 5, you can lose one game off that, but I think by and large, it'll be a lot of good choices by Rush, and I think Impulse can definitely rely on that aggression for some good results here. Anyway, guys, going to check out the starting lineups, and on the blue side, it will be Team Solo mid with Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Wild Turtle and AD carry, and Lustboy on support.
And on the red side, it's Team Impulse. Up top is Impact. In the jungle, Rush. Mid, Xiao, AD carry Apollo, and support Adrian Ma.
It's going to be an absolutely amazing series to watch here. I'm hoping for all 5 games. And you were kind of saying the same thing here in Champ Select. I'm curious to see what ends up happening.
Yeah, the strangest thing about the picks and bans on this patch is really every team in every series takes on its complete own identity right here. Will they be focusing some bans onto Rush? Will we see bans focused at Bjergsen or Xiao? What will the strategies end up being?
Yeah,
Game 1.
Will people tunnel on Teleport Smite? Yes, it's cool. It's a neat new strategy, but it's not good on every single top laner, as we've seen many times already.
Well, you're seeing some of the bans come out from Team Solo mid, Morgana and Rumble. Yeah, Smiteless top lane bans, though, so it seems like if Impulse wanted to run the strategy, they still could. You're seeing Impact lose many of his carry top laners. Right now, TSM just losing tanks, specifically a defensive one from Dyrus.
Well, it's interesting. Team Impulse ended up banning Sejuani against Gravity in their last series in a couple of the games. That does speak to Rush wanting to play an early game fighter jungler.
So, yeah, he definitely does trend towards those. I keep bringing it up every single game, and he hasn't pulled it out yet. But if he's going to play a Cinderhulk jungler, Rush has put in a decent amount of time on Nunu. And it's actually one of his top 4 played on his main account. And he has a very good win rate with it as well. So if they, at some point in the series, do decide to go with a Cinderhulk from the jungle, he does have that in his back pocket.
It's just the strangest thing for Rush to be playing. He always talks about
that's definitely not a Rush character.
To outplay people with his mechanics.
My point and click slow.
I slowed you, man.
And Rush channel.
Rush is definitely the guy that would go all AP runes. Come at you with a 500 damage snowball.
Yes. His consume mechanics will be full of the outplays. We'll see TSM taking plenty of time now on their first pick. Nunu. Right, TSM's got to know that's on the table here, of course.
So the Twisted Fate is also something that was banned last week against Team Impulse. Even Adrian did some trash talking in an interview saying that they basically gave COG the TF strat and they ran it better.
I mean, you don't usually want to give away your strats
late.
After. Yeah. Oopsies. Okay, well, that one's out the window already.
Now, either way, Gravity had banned those away before the interview, so I guess he's like, well, cat's out of the bag. We'll let everyone else know what this is about. First pick, Lulu. You got to imagine that's, a Dyrus or Lustboy champion most likely. And, TSM giving up a lot of pressure and letting top lane do whatever seems to be a normal champion for Dyrus to play.
We did talk up the Lulu comps really, really big yesterday because it is one of the comps that Team Liquid practice a lot. TSM have performed on this comp many times throughout history. Years and years ago, it always comes up sporadically for TSM, and they do use, either Kog'Maw or Jinx and go with those protect an AD carry competition.
Wow.
Hey, I got it.
Kobe!
I feel like this bodes poorly for Team Impulse.
Whoa! That was fast.
Yeah.
That was real fast.
So, a couple of AD carries in there. I guess we still call Urgot an AD carry technically, but it is going to go to Bjergsen.
Marksman, he shows up in Champ Select.
Yeah, okay, he's a marksman. He is definitely going to go to Bjergsen. We all remember the power training that Bjergsen put in on Urgot after he had to face Keen's Urgot. And it took him a while, but he actually got really good on the champion. So this is a very, very strong double AD carry comp with tons of shields already in it. And TIP fairly low damage right now, so hard for them currently to break through shields. We'll see what they add on top of this.
One interesting thing about these TSM picks, though, is they don't have much hyper carry potential. They're not picking the Lulu. The Nunu is taken away from them. That may be one of the reasons they locked in Corki Urgot so quickly. This is actually a bit of a mid-game power spiking, kind of double AD pressure team composition.
Huge amounts of mixed damage here. They have Trinity Force power spike to rely on, Muramana Transform to rely on. On the other side, though, what we were looking for, it looks like Impact will go with his Shyvana top lane.
TP Smite.
He has wrecked solo queue with it. It's extremely intimidating. Definitely going to be the TP Smite Shyvana for Impact up there. And it's going to be sped up by the Sivir. Makes it even more frightening. So expect a lot of focus wherever Impact goes, whether they lane swap bottom or have him top, on his lane. And we'll see if he and Rush can do some jungle invading. Kind of reminds you of the days of Darien and Diamond when Darien's on Shyvana and he just bullies through his lane, clears the wave really quick, and then goes to do double counter jungling with Diamond.
It definitely was a scary thing overall, and we can see how aggressive this Korean duo from Team Impulse, the Impact Rush, it's almost a stronger duo than Apollo and Adrian, really. Like that's the duo you talk about for the most part with these guys. So the double smite is there. TSM, though, they do get Santorin, his Nidalee, and Lustboy's going to play Janna, so a lot more shields in this team.
Yeah, and TSM is actually set up to be a good sieging, poke, pushing team composition right now. So what Impulse needs to do is make sure they get a lot of wave clear here because they already have a fair bit of split push that could be hard to engage on. This is a really fascinating pick and ban phase for the first game.
And I actually really like what Team Solo Mid are doing here because they definitely expect the impact focus, whatever top laner it's going to be with the TP Smite. That means that Shyvana is going to be low mobility. Yes, she has her own speed up with Burnout. Yes, she does have her Dragon's Descent. But this TSM team is so good at kiting. This is a 5-range champion team, one of my favorite compositions. And all you have to do is kite back. And if you have good communication and target selection, swapping targets very easy on this team, and you can do a lot of kiting. We'll see if the Sivir is enough for Impulse, though, because that makes Impact a little bit more frightening.
It'll be a really delicate balance. The Nunu and the Nautilus were locked in very quickly, and once they get their mitts on someone, it's very hard to get away. Add to that the other things they have to follow up, like Orianna, ball delivery system with Shyvana. It is, in a sense, a poke team versus a split push engage team.
Yeah.
And what more can we ask for in game one of this series?
Well, very different compositions and a very fun game to watch overall. One of, I hope, 5. Coaches shake hands. The crowd is cheering. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun over here in Los Angeles, guys. I guess the key guys to watch for then, yes, can the engage stick and can the kiting happen for TSM? It's going to be a bunch of fun. We're going to keep tabs on how you guys at home are predicting this series. So stay plugged in over on Twitter and send your picks with hashtag TSMWin or hashtag TIPWin to @LevelEsports Esports. Let us know which team's going to win the entire series. And here we go, guys. Game 1 of the second semifinals. Team Solo Mid and Team Impulse.
All right, so as far as the early game as well, oh, never mind. Santorin on the Nidalee. Not only does Nidalee fit really well into the team comp here for TSM, but he also has a lot of power early on in this game, and that's what we were looking for from Santorin in this game. See how well he can control Rush in the early game.
And that's one of my biggest compliments to Santorin this entire split is how he can almost play any style.
Such a versatile jungler.
He draws a ban on Sejuani, a tank teamfight jungler, but he's been just as effective on an early game poke pressure champion like Nidalee. And it's not the matchup we expected, actually. Rush on Nunu, where are his mechanics going to benefit him here? He's got to dodge those spears for one, not get smacked by Santorin.
Well, he's Nunu bot. He needs mechanics to keep himself running. As you were saying?
All right. TSM skill shots, though, on point so far. Landing a few. Defensive starts from everyone. You always have to be careful when the other team has double smites and Nunu about some tricky level 1 starts. Stealing away something from you in the jungle. Does look like it will be the lane swap for Impulse here, and TSM are not calling it, just heading straight bottom with the Krug advantage.
Well, this is what we saw a lot of yesterday, defensive wards in the river, so the ability to call a lane swap becomes guesswork. Until they see someone show in lane, they will not be able to know what lane they are going to. And maybe Adrian was watching yesterday's games, solo invade Nautilus time.
Elimination. Good idea.
What this?
Santorini level 2 could be a bit of a risk.
Okay.
All right. He's like, I'm afraid.
Not as effective as Lemonation.
A bit less so. All right, Impact and Rush heading down towards the bottom side jungle there. All right, he's on the hunt.
Big Papa Lemon.
Well, this is what happens when you have your AD carry on the side of the jungle that the enemy jungler is starting. You can go for some more harassment, but Adrian...
Oh, he got it. He got one.
Very passively going for that, honestly. I was expecting him to hit Rush a little bit earlier. Or, sorry, hit Santorin a little bit earlier.
Because
of that vision, they are doing
Here's a bit of a sneaky start that I was talking about.
Hey! He doesn't have Ice Blast, though, so Santorin going to try to walk away from this one. Heals himself. Rush with Consume. Has no follow-up, but this is a greedy jungle start. You shouldn't be able to get this as Team Impulse.
Lustboy with the roam, because this is, again, an example of Lustboy being on the strong side for TSM, and Impact ends up taking it anyway.
Wow, poor Santorin.
Just what we were looking for. Rush and Impact to take over both jungles. They do just that.
God, yeah, and then some. And the neutral camps. Yeah, Santorin, nowhere to really go anymore. He's going to have to go back for the blue, which he had actually left due to the harassment he was receiving from...
See if Adrian makes another visit, because they do have a ward on it. Doesn't look like he's moving that way, though, so they leave Santorin alone.
One of the byproducts of all this, though, has been that Dyrus has not been denied, as you would see often in a 1v2 lane, so they're actually prioritizing Shutdown on Santorin.
It is going to get worse for him, though, because the lane's shoving away from TSM territory.
They got to just send Lustboy up there to give him some support, and then they could 2v2, because the experience will actually be pretty close.
All right, looks like that's what they're going to go and do. The double support versus the AD carry and tank in this lane. Still going to be a bit of a freeze, but you imagine the wave clear and the ability to get some CS maybe a bit better for TSM down in this one. Meanwhile, the other side of the map, we are seeing, of course, Impact largely just kind of farming the jungle, but has now made his way back to the turret. And he is 1v1 in Corki with, he's like level 3. I think he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lot of experience out of the jungle with the double jungle start. Made it to the turret before the wave crashed in. So all going according to plan for Team Impulse.
Wow, that's an early dragon.
And what's crazy is this is supposed to be the weak side of the map. Like, TSM's AD carries on the bottom side, and yet the double jungle of Tip takes the jungle, takes the dragon.
That's the thing. They started with the double jungle, they got river control, and also because they were going to freeze Dyrus, they forced Lustboy up. So this is actually just a neutral side of the map, but because Rush had an advantage over Santorin, he's able to rush down the dragon before the 5-minute mark. Really good early jungle planning for the Nunu from Rush. So not just mechanically skilled, strategically skilled as well.
It's been absolutely great to watch. But meanwhile, the top side fight, a bit of damage going back and forth. A nice spell shield by Apollo to stop some of that.
Ooh. He took Sivers' advice. Just duck.
It helps for Lulu. She's short. Maybe the hat gives it away. I don't know. But Adrian going to be really bad at dodging boomerangs. Thankfully, no friendly fire in League of Legends, and so TIP can hard shove this duo lane out. About 1,100 gold on the AD carry, so if he wants to back its pickaxe, there's the TPs to gain more.
Yeah, we haven't been able to touch on this mid lane, which is normally heavily pressured by TSM.
Wow, Summoner heal burned that early by Xiao Xiao. He wouldn't have died, but I guess he wanted the movement speed that badly. There were no ignites there. He really wasn't under that much damage threat.
Yeah, well, he probably didn't want to have to go back to base, because if he gets tagged by something else
Another
soon,
Acid Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh.
That would suck.
Speaking of another Acid Hunter, yeah. Chunk. Thing is, they both just recalled. That's tier for Bjergsen and a Fiendish Codex for Xiao Xiao. And he's got to maybe go right back, because he's out of potions now. Jeez.
The nice thing about Orion in this matchup, though, is he can self-shield himself when the Acid Hunter lands and at least reduce the amount of poke he will end up taking.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he's going to put
crab
a second
claw.
point. Yeah, he can take one of those Acid Hunters. I wonder if he puts a second point in shield a little bit early in this matchup just to deal with that Acid Hunter instead.
Yeah, so far, not 3 points in queue. This one,
Ooh.
Yep, takes one crab claw. Takes the second one, though. Xiao down to 300 health off this one, 240. The rest supporting the lane. He couldn't clear the pink ward, but he might shove the wave out to give Xiao a recall.
He might just have to hold it.
Yeah.
So again, classic TSM, the mid lane power is actually relieving pressure on the jungle. The double jungle stalled out here with Nunu having to show in the mid lane. Takes away a lot of Rush's game plan. Whenever you show up on the map as a jungler, it affects you for the next few minutes as well. Santorin can see which side of the lane that Rush exits from. Can work around it.
So, somewhat of a typical start here for both teams. Impact and Rush providing a lot of duo pressure early on, taking the Dragon, making sure Impact, despite not having Flash, can have a pretty good laning phase early on in the game. But then the mid lane, with Bjergsen, thanks to a nice gank from Santorin, setting Xiao back a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of top lane priority versus maybe a mid lane and bot lane priority there from TSM.
What's interesting about all this panning out is essentially the lanes have been equalized. Like, the top laners are within 100 gold, the junglers, it's 200 lead for Rush, but Bjergsen's up 200 himself in the mid lane. But look at top lane getting pressured. Hook lands, Dyrus getting snowballed. He's got no way out of this one. Who's going to get the kill? It will go to Apollo to break the lead apart. TIP get the kill in the 80 carry.
Speaking of classic TSM, we've seen this story before. Rush going top to try and punish Dyrus.
He upgraded his challenging smite already before he could finish the Cinder Hulk. A lot of people have been going Bami's Cinder first, but Impact getting in close for the dueling and takes a chunk out of Wild Turtle's health bar.
He's got to be a bit careful until he gets that rage bar filled up, because Wild Turtle can easily hit him from range and kite back for days. With Sheen, the ability to chunk him out is actually pretty high.
Yeah. Turtle went with the aggressive part of the Trinity Force first for the extra harass versus the melee champion. Gonna try and keep him down. Cinder Hulk #1 completed. Rush able to upgrade. Interesting, he has gone for the Chilling Smite for the extra slow here, since this TSM team is all about kiting. Basically, Tip just want every extra tool that they can have to try and track somebody down, even though he already has snowballs. Every extra slow counts when you're facing this much disengage.
It's definitely going to matter. TSM, as you said, running a 5 range comp, and kiting going to be really, really important. Pretty low crowd control.
Yeah.
Decent sustained damage, decent burst. And, you know, again, kiting the goal for TSM, so TIP trying to counteract that. Blue buffs traded over. Both millionaires get those without being contested, so secondary jungle invade's not happening yet.
Whenever I see these 5 range comps, it gives me nightmares and flashbacks of WoW Arena 5 elemental shamans. Just targeting whoever steps forward first, basically, gets the full focus of 5 people. And you DPS down a single target really quickly. I'm very interested to see how the Shyvana can stack up. Will Impact actually be able to tank all of that focus?
Plus Orianna shields. As far as focusing down the person in front, Impulse is theoretically positioned fairly well to do so with really tanky people.
Yeah.
Double Cinder Hulk is already completed less than 10 minutes into the game. And whether or not they can click on Dyrus and close the distance.
Well, they clicked on him, but he's got the ulti and a flash available, so the damage output just not going to land anymore.
Key right there was Dyrus timing on his ultimate. Adrian not able to get that slow Nautilus auto attack off for the root.
Yeah, great mechanics there. Dyrus, though he's left on an island, he's pretty resourceful himself, so some good plays, but top lane's still going to be knocked down. Apollo with plus 75 attack damage from his purchases. Gonna look good. Shockwave onto Bjergsen. Rush has joined this fray. Couple of slows. There's Chilling Spot on top of that one. A snowball again going to be joining soon. Bjergsen flashes the ulti channel, and there's one more hit. Kill goes to the mid laner.
Yeah, a bit of a late flash there. You have to flash an ability if you're going to escape that gank. Pile on slows after slows. Good gank there from Rush. You don't have to bring CC from the jungle if your mid laner is packing already. And Xiao hits the perfect shockwave.
Impulse starting to win a couple of lanes here. If they could somehow win that mid lane against Bjergsen, that would be highly critical in this series. Something that happened last series as well for Impulse. Rush didn't farm that much, but he's in a little bit of trouble right now.
Seeing fights everywhere on the map. Dyrus forced the flash away. Blue trinket for the chase. The flash engaged from Nunu. Flash away from Wild Turtle. Fights all of the map. Dyrus goes down to Xiao, and Wild Turtle gets out.
thought that Rush was caught behind enemy lines, didn't ya? Haha! They forced the mid laner back because
Tricked
it just
ya.
killed him, though. So Rush, he knows what he's doing. He plans his invades beforehand. You kill the mid laner, then you can go into the enemy territory and invade even on half HP.
One of the decision points you have to make as a jungle Nunu is whether you put points in Consume or Ice Blast. Consume is heavier for farming and counter jungling. Ice Blast is more for fighting people. Rush likes to fight people. He's at 4 points in Ice Blast. You can see right here, he's low health, but he's Nunu. Dyrus has been denied farm heavily, didn't have his ultimate. They just chase right through. And then Rush also allows Xiao to pick up the kill, which is perfect for Impulse's team.
Yeah, plus Rush had all of the neutral camp buffs for Nunu for consuming. The extra elemental camp damage on hit right there, early damage from Nunu. Very underrated, actually.
Well, Skara, half your tweets correct here. TIP living and dying by Rush's pressure, but the Rush pressure is definitely working right now. So Team Solo Mid on the back foot so far.
So far, he's part of all 3 kills. Yes, the kills were really well played by the laners as well, but Rush the one getting into the position on time and going for the play. Speaking of plays, second dragon for him, times it after the first one. You always want to keep that chain of dragons going when you have the Nunu on your squad. Provides a lot of mid-game pressure because you come up on number 5 so quickly.
Yeah. And as far as a 5 range kiting composition plays, they're not that great at forcing fights in places. If they were the ones potentially controlling the dragon, they could kite around and off that dragon. But if Impulse just goes for it, there's not too much TSM can do to brawl into them later on in the game.
Team Solo Mid looking like they might need some leg up back in this game. Mid lane outer has already fallen. Top lane outer was traded because of the lane swap. And right now it's a 2,000-ish gold lead for Team Impulse. Some very good plays by Rush so far. The dual lane's going to match back up, and it's a lot of attack damage versus not yet a Trinity Force for Wild Turtle.
Yep. And plus, since the duo lanes have matched back up, that means top lanes match back up. Impact with the fully completed Cinder Hulk. Jungle invading, took some camps out of the blue side, heads back up to the lane for lane farm as well. This is the power of the TP Smite, Shyvana. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow. Ulti on a Wild Turtle, but the hook on a Lust Boy. It does have Flash and Monsoon. He doesn't have to use them yet. Oh, he misses the auto attack. Adrian does not land the root on Wild Turtle, but Rush doesn't seem to care. Monsoon used to disengage, and TSM will survive this fight.
The second time Adrian hasn't been able to get his auto attack off after closing. First one was because of the Dyrus outplay. That one was Adrian messing up his combo, but the aggression from Rush ends up burning the heal from Wild Turtle as well. A lot of pressure created by these plays, but this one doesn't really go in the favor of Impulse.
It doesn't just yet, but it will give them some time to run around the map as the looks like the lane's mostly licking their wounds. What I want to watch, Kobe, you talked about the duo lane, or sorry, the 1v1 top lane here, where it was Dyrus versus Impact, of course. Impact right now spending a fair bit of time jungling, and Dyrus was getting a partial freeze. He looks like that's going to be pushed back out. These top laners, I do want to see how their fights end up going.
It looks like he's going for a fight right now, not farm.
There's no ult on Dyrus.
No flash in him either, but
Impact doesn't have his bar charged up for ultimate either, so.
Okay, Lust Boy doing what Lust Boy does best, vision control. Puts the Howling Gale out. Yep, that's a Nautilus. All right, stomps him out. 5 gold for you, good job. But the aggressive pink ward, or the defensive pink ward rather, is going to stay up there, protected by Adrian and Xiao. Impulse pushing in their own wards and Rush with the Sightstone, getting a lot of control in this bottom jungle.
Yeah. Finding the pink ward is half the battle, though, so TSM do know it's there. The question is, can they do anything about it? Rush moving up that vision line, as you said. Santorin at least able to claim his own Raptors.
Wow, and a really smart ward right there by Rush, actually. I think it was Rush's ward. It's in front of the Raptor camp, but not on the brush. Santorin just swept that brush expecting a deep ward, but he still has a ward that'll spot the Raptor camp clear itself, so good mind game there.
The other thing is, we are now approaching those spikes that we talked about in Champ Select. The Trinity Force done for Corki. Bjergsen working towards his Muramana transform still. Going to be a little bit longer on that. Decent amount longer on that.
Yeah, but at the time, TSM doesn't have the ability to force anything. Unless they can group in a lane and start shoving down turrets, they're not going to take advantage of these these power spikes, because once again, TSM doesn't have the tools to engage. They have the tools to siege and disengage, but you have to come from some level of advantage in order to pull that off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Plus, if they do siege up, they really do have to worry about all these deep wards. Impact teleport coming from behind you, a flank from this Shyvana at this point would be devastating for this team. Anybody who gets knocked in closer to the core of the Impulse team is going to have a really hard time getting back out.
Well, then be careful, Team Solo mid. Your flash is going to be pretty important tools. Only really Wild Turtle has a great far-moving move block. Santorin can jump, I guess, and like Dyrus can whimsy you, sort of, but as far as getting caught out of position, there's not a lot of escape tools for TSM that aren't shield the guy and hope he makes it. So definitely some threats on the field here. Team Impulse looks like they are 2 minutes away from Dragon number 3. They are the team with the lead still. 2,000 gold lead. But not much else other than pressuring for Dragon so far for the Impulse squad.
The fact that the gold is at 2,000 is still meaning this game is anyone's to win. Impulse definitely has a big advantage. I do want to talk quickly, though, about Xiao's Orianna here. We're seeing the resurgence of Orianna in both the European LCS today and maybe more in the NALCS. A lot of it does have to do with the buff to Athene's giving more mana regen, because that's one of the big gates for the Orianna as far as being strong in the lane. Can she shove and still be able to play defensively, which is completely gated by the mana pool? Here, Xiao at least is able to shove out and stay somewhat defensive. Okay. Not ideal against physical damage, though.
Unfortunately for him, Bjergsen cutting right through it. Early Brutalizer completed. So those Acid Hunters really taking their toll.
Yeah, Bjergsen doing what he can to shove the wave out. We're seeing, though, that repeatedly he's just not able to get a lot done. Xiao able to shield himself, pretty much repeatedly stay alive. He did not, by the way, put any extra points in shields, 4 points dissonance now, so it seems like just Xiao relying on dodging skill shots in this one. Now you mentioned TSM maybe grouping up, pushing a turret down. They do have Santorin and Lustboy joining Bjergsen in the mid. This is actually to get Dragon Ward control. It spawns in 30 seconds, and TSM are not content to get that one away.
That actually really hurts, the double sweeper on the single ward when they're trying to claim the vision around Dragon.
Yeah.
30 seconds before. There's one extra ward here from TIP in that all-important mid lane brush, so they will see the move before it happens. Question is, will they be able to purchase and reposition in time? Right now, Impact's heading back already.
All right, he's walking down. Lustboy recalled to buy a pink ward because they realized they couldn't sweep any more wards away, but he's the only one sweeping vision control out.
TSM definitely has the vision control, but they don't look like they have the team to hold it. You noticed as soon as Rush face-checked the brush, everyone on TSM backed away.
Yeah.
They're going to try and poke them out, if anything, but Impulse is going to force TSM to them.
Let's see if TSM actually go for the mid turret. It looks like they're going to try and take the fight, actually.
Shyvana
coming in from the back.
Adrian with the shield on, though, not taking a whole lot of damage. Dyrus and Javelin's coming in as well. And the top lane is going to be joining the fray. Shyvana's in from the back. There's the ulti on in. Impact, what's he going to go and fight for? The hook on in goes on towards Dyrus. The Dragon number 3 does come in. And now Dyrus forced one away. Flash, Ice Blast, catches Santorin, but Apollo wants to go for Dyrus. Is literally trying to run away. A couple of Howling Gales knock the team back. And now the whole team is split apart. TIP stuck in the middle. Everybody's ready of them. The kiting is working so well, but it might not have the durability to stay alive with this one. Impact is forced away. And no, TSM force Impulse away, but the Dragon still goes to the red team.
A preview of things to come, potentially, in this game. Impulse trying desperately in a pretty spread out fight, so TSM couldn't even synchronize their disengage, but they still disengaged everyone. Impulse could not close a kill. They did secure the Dragon, but now TSM gets to push down a turret.
Yeah, I think that was actually very fortunate for TSM, considering they started this fight with Shyvana at their backs. That was the worst possible scenario that I had prepped for this team, and they still were able to scatter. Yes, it cost them a ton of summoner spells, and they weren't able to get that focus fire that I was talking about, which is the key to the 5-range comp, but they survived it.
Oh, speaking of surviving it, though, Apollo getting chased out by Santorin. Dodges not the rocket, doesn't dodge the auto attack either, and there goes the kill. Santorin gets the first one on the board for TSM.
And he's becoming sneakily farmed. All the while Rush was getting map pressure, Santorin was able to keep his CS up. He'll be getting his Rod of Ages right now to begin stacking. But to talk about that last fight a little bit more, while TSM didn't get the focus fire, neither did Impulse as far as focus firing their initiation. Watch here, they did get the Nautilus ult up top onto Wild Turtle, whereas Impact jumped around the side and the Shockwave missed.
Yeah.
If they were Shockwaving on Impact, that's a kill for sure. on at least 2 people. So it's not like Impulse is hopeless as far as finding team fights. TSM did a great job disengaging this fight, though.
Yeah, like I said, this is pretty much the best that TSM could hope for with the way that that fight started. You know, missed Shockwave, Nautilus ult combo didn't work out for them, and they weren't, and nobody was able to, you know, catch a target. You can see the 5-man squad of Impulse were just changing directions, trying to run at somebody. They couldn't get in melee range.
They couldn't quite do it. So Team SEASON5, after all that, they decided, all right, a 5-on-5 is something we can get pretty close to. The Dragon went over, but the mid lane turret did go down, which means this game is now within 1,200 gold. TSM, despite a 3-kill deficit early on, really holding on nicely. Rush playing for aggressive wards. Nice trinket by Darius to get rid of the Raptor buff, but Impulse playing around the bot lane most likely, it seems. But this turret is going to go down. Gold lead regrown here. Impulse shoving waves in as well.
All right, Muramana Transform, Last Whisper plus Brutalizer. Those Urgot Acid Hunters are really going to take their toll if they can buy time for the poke to land.
And the thing is, that last fight was before the Muramana combine as well. Bjergsen has skyrocketed in power since that last fight. And Team Impulse might need to be able to account for that. The fact that Urgot's going to do a whole lot more poke next time around.
You might freak out, Freak. Turtle's got the makings of a second item Last Whisper on Corki.
Not a fan.
I do it.
I think he's facing a double tank team.
True damage.
So he could very easily turn those parts into something else, but
no, he's not.
He has the makings of a.
I actually really like what Hai was doing yesterday in the North American series. He was going Ruin King second on Corki against a double tank team. Not only is it more kiting power with the active, but it's the passive damage against double tank. I think that is really the best build to run on Corki in about 90% of games, because you run against double tank 90% of games.
Yeah, well, Wild Turtle will get to choose his own adventure. TSM needs to have power for the rest of this game, honestly. Team Impulse will still be building up the initiation tools, especially when Xiao completes his death cap for some lethal shockwaves if they start hitting people.
Yeah.
Something to worry about with the TSM team composition as well, even just harkening back to pick and ban. When they do end up giving the Lulu, it does fit into some of TSM's greatest strengths, where Lustboy is a master at disengage supports, and when you're stacking the disengage of Lulu with Janna, it can become overbearing if executed properly. Impulse trying to stack as much engage as possible, was not able to do it on the last fight. And it's really hard to set up fights if TSM has the type of wave control they have right now.
Oh, absolutely, and you can see TSM doing a good job of holding on to that top lane. The Impact split push not doing much. TSM gets some chunks out in the mid, and now TSM rotates to the top lane. Impact's got to be careful.
Impact is trying to punish Darius again, but the ward coverage here for TSM is perfectly placed for the top lane focus. Impulse are not falling into that trap, though. They don't run into the area that TSM has warded. They shove straight up mid, looking for a trade. They could
They should tank the turret with the Nunu, but Rush was off in the jungle countering. This is Impulse being really behind on the turret trade. They might have to try a sloppy fight, but the disengage potential, unless Impulse engages very precisely, would stop it. They're trying to flank, but they are out of sync.
They're using Sivir to push down the mid lane, so it will be a 4v5. Top lane tier 2 will go down. TSM get the rotation on 2 turret kills. Impulse will trade 1, though. They finally got mid lane pushed down. And the question is now what happens in the second half of this one. Dragon up in 30 seconds. TSM definitely getting the advantage, but they're now very far away from Dragon. Ooh, they're near Baron, though.
What an interesting series of events. I think this one's going to continue. We talk about Impulse trying to become more and more cohesive as a unit, but TSM definitely showing more cohesion and experience in shot calling right there. They do have to reposition, though, otherwise they make a real 5-Dragon 3.
I mean, number 4 is actually really important. It looks like TSM actually making the move to go inhibitor for Dragon number 4, though.
Oh, wow. Okay, how many resources do you send Team Impulse? It's just Rush and Apollo. 3-man defense, considering one of them is an Orianna, is maybe just enough. Bjergsen recalls, Dragon 4 certainly going to Impulse. TSM bet off more than they could do with that top lane.
That 5 stack coming up very quickly against the new team. Team Impulse have so much pressure now. Next Dragon spawn, they can actually make the 5 range comp walk into them.
And it would only be 31.5 minutes into the game. Because Rush was able to solo the Dragon at level 3, and they've maintained pressure over that objective, it's always much faster than you expect.
Yeah, it's always the goal with Nunu.
Objective control.
Try and change those.
Oh dear.
Well, here's an interesting thing about 5 Dragons as well. It will make them even stronger in team fights, but will they actually be able to get the team fights? They still have to use that 5 Dragon fight. I think they get the 5th Dragon, they go for Baron, and then they try and just dive turrets. If they can't actually catch or fight TSM, though, that may be their plan. Bjergsen, that blue buff might cost him.
Here he goes, going to swap in. No, gets stopped out. The hook's going to come in. Bjergsen has some defensive stats, but only for a few more seconds as in comes the rest of Impulse. Lost going to buy a bit of time, and he gets healed. He's actually still alive. The fight's going to continue. Apollo low on health, and Bjergsen putting a lot of damage down from the backside. Rush now stuck him in the front as well. Great Glitter Lance to slow down a few more members. Xiao forced to run out of this one, but he's going to be a bit careful. Will they really go for this? Out of mana.
Bjergsen sped up.
Xiao yet to hit a shockwave in a team fight. That is so critical for them. Again, they had the catch, but they got disengaged by TSM.
Mana.
Bjergsen is painful. He got the blue buff. I call worse.
Man, I don't know why. This is one of the first times I've seen Xiao hesitate on pulling the trigger. Usually, Team Impulse blow as many ultimates as they have to get a kill.
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Rush getting slowed down. The chain slows from Bjergsen. Chilling Smite. He's going to go dive for this one. No, he's not. Are you kidding? He broke the shield for the slows, flashed away, no impact to rejoin the fight. Bjergsen caught alone on the chase. Adrian's going to go down to Bjergsen, though. It's going to be a lot of damage. They're going to trade back, though, and Bjergsen goes down a 1-for-1. Crazy fights. Santorin comes in, gets a second kill. Revenge for Bjergsen. Chase on Apollo, flashed away. Wow, it's going to miss his rocket number 1. He's going to hit him with the Gatling gun and then take a second down. That is a 3-for-1 TSM.
The shield's at full strength, Captain. Put him up on Bjergsen. He survived for ridiculously long inside the enemy jungle there. And they're able to take down 3 kills. We get to see the power of stacking shields with the kite comp here.
The power of being able to get away from any fight with good team coordination and some great supportive play. And then, exactly, re-engage, because Santorin is so sneakily fed in this one. So first off, Bjergsen goes on a solo mission, goes to try and finish Rush, and now it's all about who can collapse to the fight the fastest. When Bjergsen forces the flash out of here, he immediately creates an odd-numbered fight. Yes, they go for Bjergsen, but he keeps himself alive for so long that it is such a tilted fight. Bjergsen basically took 2.5 people out of that fight before it even began. Then Santorin lands a spear to go for the re-engage.
Beautiful execute there onto Xiao. And as we know, Turtle valking and flashing into the team fight.
Impact missed his ulti right there, trying to chase down Santorin there. I think he might have had enough damage to kill him if he had landed that vacuum dragon spam, but didn't happen there, so.
This may be one of the games where getting 5 dragons doesn't mean that they win the game. It doesn't give them a monstrous leg up, just a potential because of how well TSM is able to disengage from Impulse here.
The extra speed boost is going to be almost as important as the extra damage that you get from number 5 for this team. The thing is, though, with TSM being such a split damage team, all this mixed damage, it makes it really hard for your super tank to be that effective. Right now, Impact pretty heavy on the armor resistance, and the magic damage will cut right through him. Bjergsen's got so much armor penetration, all that armor stacking is not even helping him that much with the main attack damage dealing threat anyway. So Impact actually fairly squishy here as far as the resistances go.
Team Solo mid, big threats in the jungle, mid lane, and 80 carry role, and hard to itemize against all 3. It's looking good.
The biggest thing you do against a poke team that you can't fight is you force them into spots where they can't kite. The Dragon will not move, the Baron will not move. So Impulse needs to make sure they don't get caught chasing kills in the jungle or in the open, but they fight entirely around these objectives.
Well, that next big objective, 1 minute and 30 seconds away from Dragon number 5. Impact right now stalking Dyrus. Dyrus knows, nice leash there. And he'll get the Krug, right? Yeah, all right. More gold for Impact, level 16.
Looks like Impulse just accidentally dropped a pink ward in the mid lane there that they actually needed for the Dragon.
Yeah.
Well, if it was Adrian's, he could just put a new one down. That guy still has one in inventory, but I don't know who actually put that ward down. Right now, though, Team Solo mid still pressuring mid lane. They're really not letting Impulse get vision control,
I mean, they're the ones with the deep wards on the blue side jungle here. All right, let's see how well this siege goes, though.
Target is Bjergsen. Knockup comes in. The hook in as well. Bjergsen has nowhere to go, but he's going to get backwards very, very far. Rush still trying to buy some time, buy some zones. 3-man shotgun, but it does almost no damage at all. The chase still coming in. Impact tries to kill Bjergsen, but Wild Turtle's going to be the target after Bjergsen gets all the shields. Finally, Team Impulse get a kill in a team fight.
How hard do they have to work for said kill, though? Oh, man, they are really low, and TSM might be on the re-engage path.
And they're going to try a lot of shields. Low cooldowns means they can keep those health bars deceptively large. Impulse not able to stay in a 5v4.
That could be Dragon.
15 seconds. Blue buff instead, maybe. Maybe both.
Blue buff would let Bjergsen continue to spam out any poke for anyone who gets near Dragon. So the main objective for TSM there, accomplished. They get control of the Dragon area. Uh-oh, circling around here though. Double smites available for Tip and the Nunu consume with no flash though.
Kind of low as well. That's a really nice assassin hunter from Bjergsen. Impulse is going to push him off the Dragon and go for a fight.
Oh, the flash Q lands. They one-shot Lustboy with a dissonance. They had Xiaoxiao show up without recalling and healing up his health just high enough. Dragon 5 in the crosshairs. That's going to go over. 5-man Dragon buff for Impulse at 32 minutes.
I love this matchup. Both teams showing the strengths of their comps here. And the difference coming out with just slivers of HP. Let's see how well they can use this number 5, though.
This is what was expected. As soon as Impulse gets the 5th Dragon, to rush immediately for the Baron because they are even stronger in the team fights. Add that to the fact that they actually finished off Lustboy, and there was a critical thing that happened in that Dragon fight that could be a danger for TSM in the future. Lustboy is so focused on his disengage with the Talisman of Ascension, just the Size Stone for the health, and that 1 health crystal. He can pop really quickly now. So if Impulse targets the disengagers, not the carries, then maybe they end up winning these fights. With Lustboy out of there, no way TSM could even think about going back in because they do not have the disengage potential anymore.
Yeah, that's why we keep on bringing up the communication for a 5-range team comp like this. Not only do you have to focus your damage, but also your defensive abilities. The shields have to be applied very quickly to whichever target Impulse are actually going for. If Xiao is sneaking the Orianna ball into the backline and one-shots your AD, your support, then it's actually taking out a huge tool for this TSM squad.
Now, TSM need all the tools they can muster right now. They've still got about 2 minutes on Baron and a minute and a half on Dragon 5 for Team Impulse to push in. And this is probably the highest Impulse will ever be spiked above TSM right now. They've got both big global buffs, neutral buffs. If they can't do anything with this, when will they ever get anything done?
This is the moment for Impulse, for sure. The thing is, TSM still has pretty good wave clear, pretty good disengage. Basically, Impulse needs to try and shield up, keep the wave alive, and get an initiation without having to dive Nexus turrets. But here they might go.
I don't know if they're going to get Bjergsen. Shotgun comes in. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage. Santorin almost dies as well. Okay. That hurts a bit, and Team Impulse going to look for bottom tier 2.
Xiao comes up huge, killing his MVP counterpart, looking to make a case for himself this year.
That 5th Dragon buff helping his damage a little bit too. That's exactly the break they needed. Didn't have to dive super deeply, but because of the shockwave, this push could go all the way.
Oh my god, Dyro's getting caught up as well. He explodes. 2 kills in a row. Team Impulse looking to use these buffs to close the game out right now, but they are out of minions. Wild Turtle will survive with a Valkyrie. Impulse impatient here, waiting for minions. The cannon not going to break a backdoor bonus or tank shots for him. Out goes Tip for now. The respawn's coming in fairly soon for TSM.
Plus, it's extremely difficult for TSM. They still will be facing reoccurring Dragon number 5 spawns.
Yeah.
Every time it comes back up, Impulse have a huge draw out to the middle of the map where they can pull TSM into the team fight that Impulse are looking for. Plenty of wards laid down leading up to the Dragon area already. It's looking very good for Impulse here.
And Xiao has become Orianna in this game. He really, it doesn't matter if you can reactively shield or disengage if one shockwave combo kills you. I mean, Bjergsen, at this point, they stun him with an auto.
All shields are up there, too.
Yeah, they break through the shield with the boomerang, and then they just blow almost 2 people up with the shockwave combo.
Bjergsen doesn't have any magic resist. He's relying on his swap to get him any of that. So he doesn't get to swap anything. He gets cut down.
Yeah, he has
by the
no defensive stats.
That's furious.
No Aegis of the Legion on TSM because they're all super focused on disengaging and not fighting. But at a certain point, if you're getting caught by any spell, the one-shot protection just is not there.
Well done by Team Impulse to find the dive. Sivir and Nautilus into Shockwave. Seems to be enough to lock down a Squishy for long enough to kill them. Impulse now out of Baron, out of Dragon buffs, but they want to go for top lane tier 2. Right now, Darius is sitting there, wave clearing bot lane, so a 5v4 over here at the least means the turret goes down.
Not done here yet. Everybody just piling in onto the inhibitor turret as well. Without Dyrus there, they take so much damage.
Still some threat of a swap with the minions all going down, so with 2 casters left, Impulse does disengage and wait for the next one. Dragon's up in 1:30. Right now, if Impulse died, they would still respawn in time, so no huge risk yet for a fight.
Yeah, they're going to force TSM to stop them here.
Santorin just tried to do the throw spear, smite the minion that's in front of it, but smoked a little late.
Righteous Glory used, but no engage comes in, so that is a cooldown burn by Team Impulse, but their health bars have been dropped lower. They all this poke from TSM. They're going to force to disengage. TSM, of course, with no really good engage tools themselves, can't chase them out.
Mission accomplished. 1 minute on Dragon. Impulse get to dictate the close of the game. Let's see if they can actually execute, though. Because the fight will be on their terms, but you still have to pull it off. TSM have shown they can pull the Kaiten fight fairly well, but they're running out of tricks here. This time around, though, Bjergsen's got both summoners. This is going to be the last key fight here.
Yeah, it's tricky, though, Kobe. Bjergsen low on mana. Xiao and Rush were able to deny the potential steal of the blue buff Lust Boys back there. It's almost like TSM has to concede this 5th Dragon again. So Dragon number 6 on the game, but to refresh the 5th Dragon buff.
If you concede Dragon number 5, you're also conceding Baron, and that's probably the game then.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. 10 seconds on Dragon.
Not going to be easy,
up,
but you got to do something.
And now the shields from Xiao are enough to keep Impact alive against Poke.
Dyrus trying to TP in. He was managing the minion wave right here. TSM not going to concede, but it is a tough contest if there ever has been one.
And the bot lane is pushing in right now. TIP start out Dragon. 2,000 health left. They're going to finish this one down. There goes Dragon 5, and the re-engage. They target again. Onto Bjergsen. Switch to Wild Turtle. The root is on. The absolute zero to kite the team away, and Wild Turtle now isolated. That is the first kill of the fight, and the re-engage. Rush flashes over the wall for an ice blast onto Dyrus. Distance puts him back into range. The Dragon buff burning down. Dyrus could have used the taming skin for this one, but it's not going to be enough. In comes Impact help that one. Xiao gets the kill credit, and now mid lane under fire.
What a game plan here for Team Impulse. This was pretty much exactly what we expected from them. The top lane tank. The wild card is that Rush actually went with the Nunu finally, and they pulled it off really, really well. Such a good game plan. This is the opener, though. Best of 5 series. We've seen them go the distance here as far as the semifinals.
Yeah, great start for Impulse. A very decisive victory. Objective Control is the name of the game. They take game 1.
Well played in game 1. The objective control, the double smite, the Impact Rush synergy. Those guys put in a ton of work. 6 dragons in a row. The Baron as well. Zero threat of them getting stolen every single time. And Team Impulse now 1/3 of the way to the finals of the North American LCS.
So, yes, there were a lot of question marks around Rush, and you're like, oh, his playstyle, it's so risky. He goes for all these aggressive plays. They actually took that off the table. You know what? I'm going to go solid game 1. Just Nunu, objective focus. The other wild card for Impulse that people were questioning, Xiao. Oh, is he going to pick Yasuo? What's he going to do? Xiao delivered this game. That was game-winning Orianna plays. Killing Lust Boy in the one fight with a couple of combos. Really good shockwave there. The extra AP damage they needed to actually kill someone off.
It took a little while for him to turn on.
It did.
There's a few missed shockwaves in those team fights, but because of the way these team compositions clashed into each other, it was an interesting strategy for Impulse to buy into, because it wasn't one of those strats where they say, we're going to kill all the lanes and turn it into a devolved solo queue game and just be better than the other team, which is what they do against a lot of other LCS teams. This was, we're going to have to group up as a team, find clean initiations against a disengaged team. They will have edges in those because they are so strong in the lane.
I'm so excited that they finally pulled it out, because I keep cautioning against it. Like, you know what? Yeah, Rush, he also can play a Cinderhulk, right? Yeah. He can play this Nunu, but they never use it. And this is Impulse. They're the team that's notorious for, playing around in scrims, sort of, trying a lot of new strategies.
Playing around with a nice way.
Even in the LCS, a lot of the people are wondering, are they really using the strongest strategies that they have in all of the normal games? Now, though, against CSM, the #1 team, trying to get into playoffs, Impulse pull out all the stops game 1, and it works.
What I really loved about this game, you mentioned he's bringing out Cinderhulk junglers. Even though he's playing Nunu, you're like, oh, he's not even mechanically like that hard of a champion. You could tell it was Rush playing Nunu. That's the thing. You could tell that was Rush
you
with the
read?
helm there. Okay.
The name above the head.
The name of the helped a whole lot. The fact that I know I'm casting TSM as Impulse, but the fact he's in their face all the time, right? The 6-minute Dragon was really good. He stole Santorin's jungle in front of his face with the enemy AD carry down there, like
with Impact at his back.
Yeah, of course, right? He's got his friend, the top laner, but that synergy is still working so damn strong for Impulse.
Definitely agree.
No matter what the champions are, Nunu, Shyvana, double jungle, still amazing. So a great team, game one for Team Impulse. TSM hoping to bounce back. Going to send it over to our analysts to see what they have to say on Team Impulse's first win of the series.
Thank you, Freak. He mentioned the Nunu. I want to talk about the Nunu because it's not necessarily something that we attribute to Rush. We think of Vi, Lee Sin, all the aggressive junglers first in terms of fighting. Nunu aggressive in that he wants to be in your jungle. And Team Impulse essentially coming in with 3 smites. Nunu's Consume, his smite, and the Shyvana TP smite top lane wreaked havoc in Santorin's jungle.
They stole this strategy from Gravity that they played last week. And Santorin actually tweeted out last week, double smite. He's like, oh, good luck, Rush, right? This is the jungler's nightmare. Now Rush is like, that's actually a good strat. I'm going to go make Santorin's life a living hell. And they did that right off the get-go. 3 buffs started on him. And it was a team effort, too. Nautilus came down and even participated in slowing down Santorin's jungle. So they had tabs on him from the get-go, and then they just tried to snowball it there. He even just walked up to lanes. He said, like, Nunu, right? He's like, oh, this champion that, like, Rush, he plays Vi and stuff like that. Rush has actually kind of transferred not his type of champion pool, but his play style to other champions. He's still going to gank. He's still going to walk up to lanes and snowball them and then just punch people in the face. Like, he's going to play that aggressive style, regardless of the champion, and I love seeing that.
Yeah, and Nidalee is just a champion that needs to get early pressure off and early ganks, but you saw Rush was actually the person getting those ganks off. Part of that is because he got screwed over in the jungle by the double smite, and also part of that is just because with double smite and Consume, you can control crabs really well. And crucially, Nidalee is the champion that's going to be roaming around between the jungle quadrants a lot, and if she gets spotted at any moment, it's really easy to dodge her gank if you expect the spear to come. So Santorin really didn't get anything going for his team, and that was a team comp, I feel, where you have a protect the AD sort of comp with Lulu Janna, and there's nobody really worth protecting. Urgot and Corki don't scale well into the late game, so they just had a time limit on their comp and didn't manage to do anything with it.
Yeah, and these comps, when they clash together, as soon as you saw the Lulu and champions, like TIP was like movement speed increases to get to whoever they're trying to protect, and you saw it there. Everybody on that team can speed somebody up once Nautilus gets the righteous glory, right? So at the end of it, it was disengage, kite back damage from TSM, so they can't force objectives. It's all TIP that get to arrive at the objectives, and TSM can't force their way in once that happens. So the comp from TIP and the reaction to the Lulu first pick, which they assumed was for Dyrus, was perfect for them, and their champion select was flawless.
Yeah, Santorin being relegated to farming through his jungle relieved a lot of pressure for Impulse's laners. And then, as you mentioned, the clash of the two styles here, the entirely poke, disengage composition versus the you're not getting away from us if we want to engage composition on the side of Impulse, and the objective control that they had. And that's what I want to look at next, because that's what I feel Team Impulse used their smite and the Nunu Consumes, the double smite Nunu Consume, to perfectly control the global objectives on the map and put TSM in positions where they had to fight but had no way to engage.
Yeah, even though the gold was even for so long, that 5th dragon creeped up on them so quickly, and that's what opened up the game. Because if it is an engage comp against the disengage, disengage has no way to get in. They kind of poke you from the outside with the Nidalee, and once you're tanky enough, you have to kind of reevaluate your strategy, because that was not working for them.
TSM on your screen here, reevaluating, I have to assume, as you said, their strategy. Double lift, the Lulu top for Dyrus. He started 0-2, wasn't incredibly successful on it. Is the TP smite going to be a big issue in this game for him?
Yeah, I was just going to point out that Dyrus is actually really slow on meta changes, and especially right here, it really showed. He died multiple times in the 2v1, which really, I mean, Dyrus dies a lot normally, but that was especially bad because it was early game versus a Nunu jungle. And not only that, but crucially for TSM, Dyrus is almost never a damage threat. He's normally the punching bag of that team. They have Bjergsen and Wild Turtle doing a lot of damage. And in this meta, TIP is at such an advantage because if Impact gets going, and he's amazing at getting going, and he gets Skirmisher's Saber, you can reduce the damage one of those 2 threats does by 20% and just become impossibly tanky to deal with. So this meta is putting TSM at such a disadvantage with the way they're playing and how far behind they are, I guess, in understanding it.
Yeah, TIP have to find a way to, TSM have to find a way to shut down this meta from TIP, ban out top laners that use that smite, find something, and possibly adapt themselves. I don't know what they have prepared, But this is the meta that TIP stands a good chance against TSM.
I also think that TSM needs to find a way to be more proactive.
Yes.
Because this poke disengage composition, as we've stated, although can have pressure from the Nidalee, and if you are ahead, great, you siege up against a turret because, Impulse can't do anything. But when that doesn't happen, we found TSM at a loss. They were just giving up dragon after dragon after dragon. We saw 4 dragons at 25 minutes. The 5th one came in soon after that, which led to a Baron, which led to another 5th dragon. I mean, there was just no way back into it when they had no way to be proactive on their shot calls, which is normally what we, praise TSM for, is that Bjergsen is a great shot caller, playmaker both individually, but also a fantastic shot caller. And they're not giving themselves the tools to win games through their cohesion.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty much on point with perfect calls to run that type of disengage comp, because TIP, all the movement speeds, run you down as soon as one person missteps and takes one step out of position. It's just like Shyvana with all these movement speed increases goes after them, and you're not going to kill her with the challenging smite. So it's all about that shot calling, but being proactive is so hard to do with that comp. They need to draft something different.
All that being said, Doublelift, it's not like this composition couldn't have worked, but as you stated, they didn't have a super huge late game threat in the Corki and the Urgot. So, I mean, I would assume that you would much rather have had a Kalista, a Jinx, a Kog'Maw even, in that AD carry position. Put more weight on Wild Turtle's shoulders. He's showed us before that he can handle it.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot better if TSM gets a better late game in this next draft, but it's just so hard for them to close out games right now, the way that they're playing, because if you're playing against TIP and Impact is running one of these really tanky bruises with Skirmisher Saber, it becomes an impossible split push threat. So it's really hard for you to get up and group. As you saw, like when TSM did group, there were these really sloppy fights because they couldn't ever get together to get vision before the fight started. And when you're playing against Shyvana with Skirmisher Saber, like I said, it's just really hard. There's so much pressure on the map. You have to send 1 or 2 people to go deal with them, and it's just impossible for you to get to group up. So having a better late game will allow you to just kind of idle around and make TIP make the first move, as opposed to you trying to get in there and force a fight when you're 4 dragons down.
Well, the defending champs starting down 0-1 here in this series. We still have a lot of League left to play, and when we come back, the teams will return to the Rift for round 2 between Team Impulse and TSM. The action continues after this.
Adrian.
Huh?
Why you got me so wrong?
Don't you know I'm human
too?
Yeah, well, gonna buy a bit of time, and he gets healed. He's actually still alive. The fight's gonna continue. Apollo low on health, and Bjergsen putting a lot of damage down from the backside. Crazy fights. Santorin comes in, gets a second kill. Revenge for Bjergsen. Chase on Apollo, flashed away. Wild out of misses, rocket number 1. Oh my God, Dyer's getting caught up as well. He explodes. 2 kills in a row. Team Impulse looking to use these buffs to close the game out. Switch to Wild Turtle. The root is on. The absolute zero to kite the team away, and Wild Turtle now isolated. Team Impulse now 1/3 of the way to the finals of the North American LCS.